이어나가고자 하는 데이터 월렛의 대표시죠. 자, 세라핀 씨를 여러분 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Hello everybody, my name is Serafin. I'm the founder and CEO of Datawallet, and today I would like to talk about blockchain-powered self-sovereign wallets and how a data wallet can put you in charge of your own data and put thousands of dollars back into the pocket of you as being a data creator. Now, I would like to start by talking about the state of data. And I invite you to take a look at the graph on the left-hand side, which shows total amount of users on the internet. As you can see, in 2005, we were about 1 billion people on the internet. Now, by 2020, we're expected to be roughly 4.5 billion. Now, contrast that to the graph on the right-hand side, which shows total data creation and consumption over the same 15-year time period. Now, in 2005, you created and consumed roughly 240 megabytes of data per day. By 2020, you are expected to create and produce roughly 16.13 gigabytes of data per day, okay? Which means over the same time frame where the total population on the internet increased by 4.5x, data creation and consumption increased by 67x. So data really is a ubiquitous resource on the internet. And data very often gets likened to oil, and for very obvious reasons, because data fuels pretty much every process on the internet, from search engines to social networks to e-commerce platforms to advertising networks. Everything is completely reliant on data. And the importance of data is really exemplified if you directly compare two rivals in the space of social media. Now, that is Facebook and Twitter. Now, as you can see, Facebook generates roughly 20x more revenues than Twitter. And over the same time frame where Twitter loses about 2% of revenues each year, Facebook generates 47% more. Now, the question is, how can that be? And the simple answer is, it is all in the data and the simple fact that Facebook has more of it. Facebook users create more data on Facebook, which in turn allows Facebook to more accurately match up advertisers and users, which in turn provides a higher ROI for advertisers to choose Facebook rather than Twitter. Now, this allows us to make and substantiate a very important insight, which is data truly is the single most important differentiating feature in our online economy. And that is also reflected in the sheer amount of money which is poured into the data brokerage market year over year. Now, the last confirmed number that we have about revenues in the data space is from a 1.5-year investigation by the US Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation, led by J. Rockefeller IV, which found that in 2012 alone, data brokers, which are companies that sell data about you and I, made $156 billion in revenues in the US alone in 1 year. That is more than the GDP of 70% of the world's nations. And data grows so exponentially in terms of size and in terms of value that by 2022, data is not just expected to be the most valuable resource on Earth, it is also expected to be worth more than the next 3 most valuable resources combined. Now, a very important question to consider is, where does all of this data come from? Where do all of those companies, those advertising networks, search engines, e-commerce platforms, where do they get the data from? Because it certainly was not from you and I. Because even though we create all of this data, I bet that nobody in this audience has ever sold a single data point to any one company. And this is where companies called data brokers that I previously alluded to come into play. Now, these companies do but one thing. They follow you around the internet and try to scrape whatever data they can get their hands on, behind your back, put it into a profile, sell it off to the highest bidder. Now, mostly that is data from social media that they somehow scraped, loyalty programs, public records, but it also gets way more perfidious than that, such as the example of the smart TV producer Vizio. Now, if you bought a Vizio TV, you also bought a tracking software which Vizio had installed on your TV. That allowed Vizio to figure out what you were watching and when. And they took those insights and sold them to data brokers. Now, with all of those companies going behind our backs and snatching our data, selling it off without our consent, we have to ask ourselves, what does that mean for data creators? What does that mean for you and I? First and foremost, it means that we do not own our data. Our data right now is being sold without our expressive consent. It is being used in ways that is inherently not transparent to us. And all the revenues which are being generated in the data brokerage industry are captured by everyone but us. In order to put this into context, let's take a look at how much that really adds up to. So in 2012, you would have made roughly $400 were you to actually sell your own data. Now in 2017, we're talking about roughly $1,800. By 2022, it is expected that you would be able to make about $7,800 were you to monetize your data yourself. Now, even in the United States, that is an 11% lift to median household income. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a universal basic income which is absorbed in its entirety by companies that sell an asset which they do not own. The interesting thing is when we take a look on the other side of the market and try to understand what the current system means for data buyers, because interestingly enough, it does not work for them either. This is really exemplified if you take a look at the case of ad tech. Now, say you have data on your customers in the form of cookies, and you try to use those cookies in order to retarget people on some other platform and try to show them an ad about your content. Now, the probability that after going through the entire value chain of matching IDs to UIDs, UIDs to cookies, cookies to cookies, the probability of you actually finding your own customer on a different website is 2.9%, which, if you take the inverse of that, simply means that 97.1% of your ad budget was wasted on showing your content to people who fundamentally do not care about your product. You took that revenue and you flushed it down the drain. Which raises another question. Why is it that data brokers are so bad at the one thing they're supposed to be good at, which is provide companies with high-quality data? The three challenges. Challenge number one is the quality problem, the quality challenge. Now, data brokers are confined to sourcing data which is publicly available, somehow licensed to them by third-party agreements or otherwise. And so on Facebook, if you take a look at data creation on Facebook and you take a look at privacy settings, you will find that only about 7% of all data points on Facebook are marked as publicly available, which are data points which can be sourced by data brokers. Now, that mostly pertains to demographic information, birth dates, hometowns, etc. All the really rich information, the likes, the posts, the messages, are completely off bounds, cannot be captured by data brokers. So data brokers sell subpar, low-quality data. Secondly, you create data across hundreds of platforms. Each platform contains a very unique data set. Data on Facebook is very different than data on Amazon, than it is different from data on YouTube. Now, all of those platforms act as silos, so the data is captured in those silos, and you cannot really match them to data from another silo, because there are no common identifiers. So even if a company is able to take data from Facebook and somehow extract it, the probability of them matching it to data they scraped on you from Pinterest is abysmally low. Thirdly, data brokers are centralized entities. So they store all of your data in one central place, which makes it very easy to hack. Just in the case of Equifax alone, we could see the data breach that has happened in the United States reduce the credit market by roughly 35 billion US dollars. Now, the interesting thing is that the solution to this problem is as elegant as it is simple, which is put people in charge of their own data and allow them to share it with the companies they like and get paid for an asset which is rightfully theirs. And this happens in the form of a decentralized data exchange, which is what we're building at Datawallet. And a decentralized data exchange fundamentally is comprised of three components. Component one, a data wallet. So a data wallet is what the name may make it sound like to be, which is a wallet that allows you to store all of the data you created all over the internet and pull it into one place and unify it into one profile. Now, that allows you to take not just the publicly available information from any one platform, but also all the private data. You can go into the walled garden of Facebook, into the walled garden of Google, take the data out, and extract data that is completely off bounds for any data broker. It also allows you to take that data and map it to data from other silos with 100% accuracy. And that ultimately, by sharing it with companies, allows you to reclaim the profits made with your data. And given the fact that this is blockchain-based, it is completely self-sovereign, which means your data is actually stored locally on your own device. And even Datawallet as a company is not able to access your data, neither does it need to. Component number two is an API. So you need to have a programming interface with a standardized data taxonomy that allows companies to easily build powerful applications on top of people's data wallets and allow them to seamlessly move their data from their data wallet into a new application. And use cases range from you being able to simply move your data from, say, Spotify to Apple Music, to you being able to score your data with psychographic models and participate in psychographic loan underwriting initiatives, or you being able to train machine learning algorithms with all of the data you have already created in the past, rather than having to create this data anew. And thirdly, you need to have a smart contract mediated payout system where users are automatically paid whenever their data is being utilized in a crypto token. So they can earn token and they can spend token. Now, one of the most powerful use cases I'm very proud to introduce to you today, which is what we will be working on with Liveen. Now, what the partnership between Liveen and Datawallet will entail is allow any Liveen user to take all of their existing data from social media such as Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, to e-commerce data such as Amazon, Uber, Airbnb, to entertainment data from Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, and link that to their Liveen profile. Now this means that Liveen will be able, right from the get-go, to have access to data that not Facebook, nor Google, nor Amazon ever had access to, and leverage it for an advertising network which they can then launch. So, to sum it up, what we allow users to do is power up and personalize Liveen right from the get-go with their data, provide companies with an unparalleled advertising efficacy by leveraging verified purchase and interest data. And all of this happens completely permission-based, privacy-preserving, and data ownership assuring. And with that, Liveen and Datawallet would like to welcome you to the data ownership revolution, where we put people in charge of their data, where we allow them to reclaim the profits made with their data, and introduce the next generation of the internet. Thank you very much.